It's like dead calm this morning. Like the calmest morning yet. The movement has not been that stellar. And the leaves are really wet. So the deer I have seen, very quiet. It's one of those mornings you gotta kind of keep your head on a swivel because they could sneak up on you. While I'm sitting here, I kind of wanted to talk about my thoughts on, the whole, buck bedding craze and, bump and dumps and really aggressive tactics that are out there on the internet and stuff. Those are all great tactics, and those guys are super smart bow hunters. Don't get me wrong, more accomplished and better in every way than I am. And they appeal to a certain type of hunter. I guess I just worry that a lot of people who kind of have my situation where, they have permission to hunt a couple, private farms, 100 acres and smaller, and that's what they got to deal with. Those tactics are, I guess they can be useful in very specific situations, but overall, I think it's gonna hurt you more than it's gonna help you. Being super aggressive on these properties. Now, this is the time of the year to get more aggressive, but when you make an aggressive move, if you don't kill that buck, if you're after a big mature 4.5, 5.5 or more old deer, if you make that aggressive move and you don't kill him, every time you do that, your odds just drop lower and lower and lower of getting an opportunity to kill that deer. At least in that specific location. Look at Heisenberg, for example. I hunted him twice in early season because he was showing up in daylight. And I thought I had kind of a bead on where he was bedding, just from historically where mature bucks have bedded in the past. And I went in there after him twice. Never seen him. And I haven't had a single picture of that deer since the 12th, which was since the last time I went after him. Oh, here comes a buck. That's a nice one, too. That was a better deer. 2.5-year-old out cruising. As I was saying, before I was so rudely interrupted, I went in there after that buck twice and disappeared. Now, it could have been because, it was just that time of year and he shifted, but what I think is I spooked him and he just moves. I think, a lot of those YouTubers and big hunting personalities, they're hunting thousands of acres of public ground, just acres and acres and acres, and they got 20, 30 spots, 40 spots, and if they mess one or two of them up, they just move on to the next one. I able to hunt, a decent amount and not have to drive 3 hours to southern Ohio every time I want to hunt some good public land. My options are small private farms, what I can get permission on. And when you're hunting small private farms and you're hunting big mature bucks, it pays to be the least intrusive as possible. Those bucks do not tolerate human scent and pressure very well whatsoever. In my opinion, a big buck needs cover, water, food, but above all else, he needs an area that's free from human intrusion, free from human pressure, and that's what's going to keep that deer around and give you an opportunity to kill him. And if you're doing all these aggressive hunts after this buck, diving into his bedding area, or bump and dumping him, I promise you that doesn't work. Where I hunt, you can't bump and dump a buck and expect him to come walking right back in there the next morning to bed. They just don't do that. Maybe in Iowa, but not here. It is a different game. All those guys, Johnny Eberhart and Dan Infold, they talk about how they're hunting super pressured ground, and they are. Hunting Michigan, hunting Ohio, hunting, parts of Wisconsin, I'm sure, Pennsylvania. It's super, super pressured. This isn't Iowa and Kansas where there's, 1 hunter per square mile. I got tree stands all over me. I share this property with 3-4 other guys. The least amount of pressure you can put on that buck, the better off you're going to be. Staying out of your stands until the time is right is the best advice you're ever going to get. Now, if I was driving down to southern Ohio to hunt the Wayne National Forest, and I was going to be down there for 3 days, heck yeah, I'm going to, do all those aggressive tactics. I'm going to try and stalk a buck. I'm going to, try and bump him out of his bed and set up the next morning. I'm going to get right in tight to the bedding area and do a hanging hunt. I'm going to do all that stuff to try and put myself in a position. But those type of moves and that type of hunting is a numbers game. The more you do it, the better your odds are going to be. As long as you have enough properties and enough bucks to burn, which most people don't, I guess that's all I'll say about that. Well, guys, it's about 11:30. I think I'm about to pull an audible. I haven't seen any deer since that basket rat came through about an hour ago. But I think I'm about to switch stands for the evening. I'm going to go back to the farm that I hunted a few nights ago, where I had the encounter with those 2 smaller bucks. Came right under the stand. I got a picture of a giant last night hitting my mock scrape. Big split brow. I don't know what he score. I don't really care. He's a big deer. So that's got me interested. He might be in there. And then I got another picture about 10 o'clock, an hour and a half ago, of a really good looking 10-pointer that hit that scrape too, walking around in daylight. So there's some bigger deer walking around over there. I've put a lot of time in this stand this week, and every time I hunt, I just see less deer, less deer, less deer. And that's about how it is, so. But I'm going to jump down and I'm going to go where I see the deer. So there's deer moving over there. That's where I'm going. Stay tuned, guys. piece of Phragmite that came out of the swamp 100 yards from here. Must have been stuck in a buck's rack. It stinks. It smells like buck urine in here. I'm excited. I think what I'm going to end up doing is just sitting in the same tree that I was in. God, what a mess. Took me forever to get set up. I got back in here, and the wind was just not cooperating no matter what I did. I hung one stand, got all set up, and I just didn't like it. So I ended up tearing down and moving about 90 yards to the north here. As I was walking up here to check this tree, I kicked a big buck up out of his bed about 30 yards from where I'm at right now. He was not spooked. He just kind of stood up, looked around, and then just kind of walked off over the hill. That was about an hour ago. Then about 10 minutes ago, just as I was kind of getting everything situated up here, 2 bucks went running across the top of the hill together. The only reason I know they were up there is because I saw their racks. I'm sure they were chasing a doe or something. But this whole section I'm set up in was select cut about 4 or 5 years ago. Super thick, gnarly. I got one access path that I mow